I mean, if I properly think about it, everything I've ever done on a bike that anyone would remember has been on Shimano. You know, they've been a main character right there behind me in the whole thing. I didn't know there were any other like drivetrain companies other than Shimano, but all my heroes were sponsored like by Shimano. In the big riding movies, New World Disorder, you'd see the logos, you'd see it on their bikes. Like, remember Thomas van der Ham, there'd be a whole section on here when there was a 6-shot which showed that, so I was very aware of it. Didn't think I'd ever be working with the brand. Yeah, Woburn Bike Park, without that I wouldn't be here. That's like the OG, that's home. That's where I discovered mountain biking. It's where I learnt to do jumps, it's where I learnt tricks. Without Woburn, I probably wouldn't have got so hooked on mountain biking. It would have been something else, but it wouldn't have been this sport. I actually got sponsored by Shimano through Madison, the UK distributor. It was a Saracen contract, but they gave me Shimano stuff, and then since then it's the only drivetrain I've ever used. I think it was my first riding trip abroad, and whilst I was there you said let's shoot basically part of your entire movie, and we got the coolest slow-mo shot I may have ever got, and photo. It was a knack against the horizon at sunrise. God knows what time we got up, I wasn't a fan of that. We got up in the middle of the night and went and got that banger on a Saracen Mist. So there we go, I would have been on Shimano then, yeah. My mountain bike career was slopestyle, which was riding a dirt jump bike with suspension that hardly moved, one brake, no gears. And now, a few years later, I'm doing Red Bull Hardline, and I'm up on the start gate of a completely different discipline that requires a completely different bike and different planning. So I've like fallen in love over the last couple of years with tinkering and understanding like high performance parts. Hardline Tasmania was like unreal. I went there for the first time with a mechanic, and we like set my bike up perfectly, but I still wanted to backflip the last jump. I think I was the first person to flip in Tasmania with that Hardline. Well, that picture, that was the dreaded ravine gap, which almost was part of Hardline Wales, right? Yeah, Red Bull Hardline Wales is the main event. Like for me, that's by far the most I could feel out of my comfort zone, more than what it was like at Red Bull Joyride back in the day. It's just staring down a course where I know at some point I'm going to crash, but I don't know where.
No hand or whatever. He's like, well, I can't hold on. That is absolutely right! Oh, it goes down again! Back to Matt Jones, who is one of the best mountain bikers.
So after doing years of slopestyle competitions, I'd say the moments of the most notoriety in my career have been in recent years, more than the comps. Like there have been projects, you know, like jumping over the house that got 100 million views, and I just loved it. Like I've always dreamt of doing something like that, and this house was perfect. Just done a project with Red Bull where I jumped through 2 moving trucks, something I've always imagined. Like it was so scary, but they're like the locked off things that you get to own. Like, you know, that was your idea, you deliver it through your eyes, through your vision to the world. And Shimano's been part of every single one of those moments. You know, every idea I've had, I built a bike and it's had the right drivetrain, the right brakes, and I've put my life in the hands of those components. Yeah, I don't know what's next, but I just keep coming up with more stupid ideas that I really believe in, and that's what I fall in love with. Yeah, I live on a farm. My dream was always to have jumps on my own land at my house and no neighbours, and then this is like the crescendo of that. It's so sick, man. I've built a skate park, I've built dirt jumps, we've got a loop in the garden, got 2 pit bike tracks. So for me, that's like the biggest win ever. Woburn's got a bit of everything. The dirt jumps for me were the main event, you know, I just wanted to be down at the dirt jumps doing tricks and landing on my head. But it's also got downhill tracks. They're short, they're 20 seconds, but you can get pretty good on a 20-second downhill track. I'm a sort of jack of all trades, master of none. I was never slopestyle world champion, and I'll never be downhill world champion, but I've kind of had a good taste at all those events and disciplines at a really high level. And I think that's thanks to Woburn and the way it was structured. Yeah, now I can go outside and ride with my son. You know, he's obsessed with biking. He's so hooked on biking. I'm not surprised, but that feels amazing. And really, that's the whole picture coming full circle. That's me loving building jumps. I've managed to buy a house where I can build jumps, and I've got a son who wants to ride the jumps with me. So yeah, that's a special kind of finale to the whole thing, really. I've never really had a long-term plan. I very much like what I'm doing now, which is just brainstorm, come up with an idea, a big idea, and then lean on all the brands and sponsors around me to help make it happen. I don't know what the future holds, but I've got a lot of ideas and I want to bring them to life. And thankfully I've got the right partners around me to see them come to fruition.